Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our April 8th supervisor meeting. In attendance tonight, we have Supervisor Erler, Supervisor Ekman, Supervisor Friedman, Supervisor Albert, and I am Supervisor Birmingham. So we do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. Have all the supervisors seen the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a addition to our agenda. Under new business, we have to reschedule our workshop meeting for May since it falls on Memorial Day.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion of when that meeting should
I
be?
think we can just incorporate our business meeting and our workshop meeting in one.
So have one meeting for the
One
month
meeting
of
for
May.
the month of May.
Any supervisors' questions or concerns about doing that? Okay, we'll leave it at one meeting for now. If we do need to call another meeting, it's 24 hours notice. And doesn't mean that we'll give only 24 hours notice. We have up until the end of May.
I'll bring that up under new business then.
Okay.
We can vote on it.
So you're going to bring up,
I'm going to bring up combining the two meetings under new business number 4.
okay.
Other than that, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that being said, we've amended tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment.
You want to withdraw your...
I don't know if we can do that because this is just the agenda. This isn't voting on anything.
Well, Jonathan, tell me, what was your motion?
Motion to approve the agenda with the amendment added.
Oh, to no business, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you guys did the motion for really the same thing, right?
Right,
You're
yeah.
talking about the May meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll second his motion then.
Okay. Any other discussion from the supervisors? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. 3 minutes, timer's right up here. And I hope everybody saw the clouds tonight during our solar eclipse. A wonderful viewing of the beautiful clouds of Upper Mount Bethel. But 3 minutes for public comment. Timer's right up here. All I ask is that you come up to the podium, give your name and address, and then the floor is yours. So with that being said, does anyone want to make a public comment?
Oh, Cindy has one.
Okay. David, are you ceding your public comment right now to Cindy? What's that? Oh, sorry, Mark. I'm looking at your David Friedman endorsement right there. Cindy, go ahead.
And those wonderful glasses that we handed out to all the wonderful residents. I mean, you couldn't even see anything. Couldn't even see the clouds.
I know. they were very protective glasses.
Yes, they were. Okay, this is a public comment from Charlie Cole, who could not be here this evening for the first public comment section. Charlie says, remember what the LERTA law was to accomplish. I quote, Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assessment Act. Act of December 1st, 1977, PL 237, number 76, an act authorizing local taxing authorities to provide tax exemption for certain deteriorated industrial, commercial, and other business property and for new construction in deteriorated areas of economically depressed communities, providing for an exemption schedule and establishing standards and qualifications. Titled amended July 13, 1988, PL 518, number 90. The I-2 zone of RPL does not meet these requirements. It is a misapplication of the LERTA Act. Charlie Cole.
Thank you, Cindy. Mark?
114 Scenic Court. My question's kind of a technical question. I was kind of hoping that maybe we could get Justin to answer this one. But when they say that they're going to cut and fill to level the ground to build a building on, and if a geotechnical person says that the soil is not of structural integrity to act as a foundation for the building, what is the requirement for structural fill, and what if you don't have structural fill from the material that they're cutting, where would they acquire it from?
Justin?
Is that a question you could answer?
Sure, I can answer that in several ways, but is this in reference to a specific project or just in general on construction activity?
Justin, in all honesty, I read the geotechnical report for the RPL I-2 zone, and they were talking about the cut and fill, and they are cautioning that some of the fill that is to be cut is not adequate for a structural foundation. And I'm just sitting there saying, well, how do you make that assessment? What's the requirements for that? And then if you don't have that, what do you do?
Okay, so they went in and did an evaluation. They did some test pits. I believe they took soil samples. If they determined that the soil, the existing overburdened soil, was not adequate enough for bearing capacity, in my experience, there's two things they could do. They could do what's called dynamic compaction, which they literally compact the soil to make it more dense and make it more stiff.
They talked about that.
Compaction testing was done, like I said, like the dynamic compaction should be done. Or I've seen it where they over-excavate, they take the material out and they bring in basically clean fill, whether it's some type of coarse aggregate.
Where would that come from?
That could come from any quarry that provides structural fill.
So it would have to be like purchased?
Most of the time, yes.
Thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else? Public comment?
Mr. Angle.
Yeah, Ron.
I'd like to reserve my time, though. Mr. Erler is going to be giving a report here on the feasibility study. He visited the site, and you also have on here the Act 537 plan. I'd like to save my time for them.
Okay, you can do the second public comment, Ron. Anyone else? Public comment?
I just had something, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if we can get signs up there on Ridge Road where we have this flashing stoplights on our township road that would state that the opposing traffic doesn't stop. Because it seems to be that people up there think that Ridge Road is a four-way stop sign there, and it isn't.
And we should make it a four-way stop sign.
Well, I don't, that's up to the state. I don't know if the state will let us.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if we can put two signs up there on our roads, so maybe we can have our engineer look into it and the manager, that's all.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
We had this discussion today. Mr. Freeman came in, and I actually had Lindsay order the signs. It's our road that we're putting it on.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to put the sign up. Is this working? Okay. Yeah. I did order the sign, Dave, so we're going to put that up as soon as it comes. It takes a couple of days. But unfortunately, the problem is PennDOT owns that section. We own Fox Gap.
So there's no way we can do a four-way stop sign unless PennDOT approves of it?
Yeah, I mean, Justin and I were out for another issue near North Bangor. It was just a disaster. You know, we're doing the best we can. They actually wanted to take down the stop sign. So we said, no, it's all right, forget it. That's what we're dealing with. So we can take care of our roads, and we will, to make it safer.
Okay, okay. Any comments? Okay. Anyone else? Public comment? Oh, Judy. Is that Judy?
Yeah, I'll make this quick because Charlie pretty much said what I wanted.
Oh, Judy, just give your name, please.
Judith Henkel, 1752 Robin Hood Road. Just going down the agenda without knowing exactly what you're talking about, alerted to me was a misdesignation on the I-2 property and feasibility study, Act 537 plan. At some point, we need to have some responsible, unbiased planning to see what it is our needs are and what we can accomplish. So however that discussion's coming up, those are my views. Also, the EAC will be meeting for the second time tomorrow night, and we will decide then when our regular meeting night will be. We may change it.
And what time is that here?
7 o'clock here tomorrow night.
Okay, and you're looking for members?
We have members.
No,
But anybody from the public that wants to come in, we want discussion with people to find out what their views are on.
Okay,
We were asked to look at the well ordinance, not that we're going to make any changes, but how do you feel about it? What's the goal? What's the purpose? And is it doing what we would hope it to do? And then other meetings will go over different issues. But yeah, public is welcome.
okay, thanks, Judy.
Okay.
Anyone, Richard?
Richard Wilfred Hunt, 2012 Shady Lane. Two questions, and this is for Nick. Can you give us an update on the Route 611 closure at the Richmond Hotel? I know there's a sign that says April 2nd, and I know what's going to happen.
I think it actually just closed, Richard, but
and-
I could get more, if you need more
You can give a
information, I
little-
can make a phone call.
And then
Yeah.
where are they routing all the traffic? If you could just say.
Yeah, I think I went over this. It's going to be down Richmond to, was that Martins Creek, Belvedere Road? That's the detour. That's both roads are state roads. That's what the detour is going to be.
Okay, so that will be southbound traffic.
Both.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
all goes, and then
I mean,
circles back around.
People
Okay.
can cut in on Mount Pleasant, and then there's I forget
Got it.
that other road, but trucks have to go through those routes.
Okay, and then the other question is, you mentioned that PennDOT is going to be doing a traffic count, a truck traffic count.
Yes.
What roads specifically are they doing that on?
Off the top of my head, they actually put one by the bridge already. Off the top of my head, there's River Road. I have a list. I could actually get that.
Okay.
And I could read that. If you want me, Mr. Chair, I can get that list and just,
Yeah,
it's
that'd
in
be
my
great.
count. Yeah.
Good, and what's the duration of that, for that count? Is it a month, is it?
No, it's going to be for the rest of the year, so they're going to alternate.
Good.
Yeah, I
Thank
don't
you.
know exactly how long they're going to leave it on there, but they are out already. They're already over on the bridge on $1 Million.
Good, thank
So,
you.
All right, but I could get that list.
And Nick, if we can post anything, any updates on our website, that would be great. Thanks. Yeah, Stevie, come on up.
Steve Ott, Harvest Lane. Follow up on the closing of the bridge. It must have been closed at noontime today because there was, for the 3 hours that I was home, there was 9 tractor trailers came down off of the hill. They are having problems turning on Ott Drive and Richmond Road, and they're not being able to go around. 9 of them. 4 of them were nose to tail coming down off of our hill from, well, they came down Deer Run, and then they came on to Riverton Road to go out to Route 611. So that's the follow-up. It's going to be worse than that because they got stuck there twice today. The last truck, I think they called in the tow truck to get them out, trying to cut the corner. I don't know. And then for the second question on Marks, about this compression for compaction for these buildings. You know what's happening down at Tatamy. We're getting cave-ins. Who's going to watch that? Who's going to patrol that?
It's a good question.
Somebody, you know, we had an episode when the schools were being built that nobody patrolled what was going on up there, and they did all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think we ought to look into who's going to be keeping an eye out there. I mean, it could be a serious thing.
There was an issue on Potomac as well,
Yes.
this morning
Yep.
and yesterday.
Yesterday,
Yep.
Yeah, and from what I know, from what I've been told, if you want to chime in on this, the GPS is directing them
Exactly
to
right.
Potomac.
Exactly.
And I don't know what happened last night, coming home, and you could tell the truck didn't know where he was going. So I stayed behind him, and he jumped out, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. My GPS is, I said, where are you going? He goes, Lamb Tech. So he goes, but my GPS is bringing me down Potomac, and he goes, now I have to take Pine Tree up. So
Yeah.
it's, and then all the logging trucks
It
getting
ain't going to be a
spun
pretty
around.
sight.
Thank you, Stevie. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could just respond to the one comment about the inspection during construction.
Sure.
Throughout the construction, they're going to have a geotechnical engineer on site as needed, and then typically the township engineer has an on-site inspector, so it'll have multiple layers of inspection throughout construction.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Mark, yeah.
Can you tell the difference between structurally compatible fill and non-structurally compatible fill by just looking at it?
No,
No.
I can't. Maybe an
How-
experienced geotechnical engineer could do it, but I'm not qualified to do that. That's why they take soil samples to determine if it's adequate.
The reason I ask is, given the magnitude of the cut and fill that they're going to do, and I think you had said at one point that 303 Demi Road was going to move as much earth as it took to build the Hoover Dam. Is that something like that?
Maybe about a fourth of the Hoover Dam, but yes, a very
maybe
large
maybe
amount.
I'm making that up, but the
Yes.
fact is, it's a huge amount of earth to be moved.
Absolutely.
And if you build on something that is not structurally compatible, you're just leading for trouble down the road. I am an engineer, but I'm not an expert in that kind of stuff. Over.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Announcements. Supervisor Erler, any announcements?
I had the walkthrough at the RPL location with Nick, Lisa, and Lou Pector. It was a great thing to get to experience, to not only see the entire project in its enormity, but they had an overlay of the buildings as we were walking the property. What they are proposing is going to be moving a lot of earth because that area is nowhere close to level. So I actually applaud that they think that they can do it. It's not going to be easy. I got to talk to them, ask them some questions, bring up some of my real concerns. Some of which they said that they would get back to me on. So I will wait to hear back. The office hours that I had worked very well. 10 people came, and we closed up TK's. As soon as we heard the vacuums kick on, that's when it was time to leave.
That's good to hear. That's great.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Supervisor Ekman.
I don't have any.
Okay. Supervisor Friedman.
Yes, our well ordinance meeting that was scheduled for the 10th of this month will be postponed to a date in May. any scheduling conflict, but I have to throw out a bunch of dates that we can get everybody to agree upon. So as soon as I get a date for the May meeting, I will have that posted on the website. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Albert.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Just a couple of things. April 14th, that's this Sunday, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. is a free electronics recycling day. So if you have laptops, computers, DVDs, VCRs, keyboards, monitors, cords, they'll take it all, and it's free. We do ask for a donation of any amount, which will go out to the Joanna family. Joanna family is a family right here in Upper Mount Bethel. Mark Joanna has been suffering from cancer for the past couple of years now, and he's been out of work since December. So we're hoping to get some donations. Even if you don't have anything to recycle, come on by the Chelsea Sun. That's where it's going to take place at, between 1 and 4, and you can drop off a donation right there. So would appreciate any help you can get, we can get. April 14th also is Meet the Mount Bethel Fire Department's Ladies Auxiliary, and that's between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. at the Mount Bethel Firehouse, and they are accepting new members. My office hours will be April 16th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Are you going to announce cleanup day, Nick?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Okay. April 17th, there is Evergreen is holding a senior scam seminar presentation by the Pennsylvania State Troopers. That's for people who live in Evergreen. All supervisors are invited to attend. It's April 17th at 4:30 p.m. So I just ask, if you do plan on going, shoot me an email, because they want a list beforehand. And that's April 17th at 4:30 p.m. and it'll be in the clubhouse in Evergreen Village. Nick's got cleanup day. May 25th is the grand reopening of Mount Bethel Pharmacy, and that'll be at 10 a.m. There's going to be hot dogs and hamburgers served, and it'll be a nice event. So come on by Mount Bethel Pharmacy on May 25th at 10 a.m. And then we're going to, Nick, we've got to plan the weekend garbage day. I'd like to start that in May.
Okay.
I'll be first. So we'll just pick a Saturday of when we're ready to go. And then what we'll do, it'll be a Saturday. We'll open up the dumpster here. Basically, you can bring residential trash, right, Nick? Mm-hmm. And we'll be open for a couple of hours. So if you have extra trash that wasn't picked up on bulk day and it's residential trash, you can bring it down. And we're going to be doing that. We'd like to see if we can do it on a weekly basis, but it'll really depend on supervisors' scheduling.
Yeah, it's not for bulk items, though. It's for residential garbage. Like if you have a party and you have 5 bags, and they have to be in bags. Just to let everybody know it's listening to that, and no more than 5 bags.
And then last thing, I'd like to start, I want to bring this up with the supervisors, but I would like to start holding town hall meetings where residents can come and ask questions. They can submit questions beforehand, but if they have any questions, whether it be the development or whatever it be, that we start having town hall meetings and just work on a better dialogue with our residents. And I think we're doing a good job now. Office hours are working out for everyone, and I think if we do these town hall meetings, we can have good conversations And it'll just be a question and answer session. Ron, we can do that, right, without violating any sunshine laws?
Well, when you say we can do that, who would be present for the meetings?
It'd be all 5 supervisors.
Okay.
We wouldn't vote on anything. It would just be more a question and answer session.
The issue is whether you're going to be doing any deliberation. If you're not going to be deliberating anything, and it's simply a fact-finding question and answer matter, that would be okay. But as soon as you say, well, what do you think about that? What would you do? What is your idea? Now you're deliberating, and it would have to be advertised.
Okay. All right, so let's think about that. I think the safe bet is probably just to advertise.
If you advertise it, you're always safe. You never have to worry about then someone raising an issue. You advertise, it's a town hall meeting for question and answers and dialogue by and with the township residents. Thank you very much. Put it in the paper and you're done.
Yeah.
Mr. Solicitor, is it possible if we, to have just residents, or would it have to be open to the public in its entirety?
That's your call. I mean, obviously for public comment purposes, let's just talk about that for a moment. The township only has to permit people who are either township residents or taxpayers to comment at a public meeting. Now, there's argument that since what a taxpayer is or means isn't defined in the act, and that if you buy a cup of coffee in the township, you're a taxpayer because you paid sales tax, I suppose you can make that argument that that person should be entitled to speak. But that would be the call of the supervisors, and if in fact you put in a notice that is for discussion and dialogue with township residents, then you certainly are within your rights to say no one who's not a resident can speak. If you want to say it's open to anyone, well, you can do that too. That's your decision with respect to how broad you want to make that and how lengthy the meeting might become depending upon how wide open it is.
Okay, so let me reach out to everyone, get some dates that work for all of us. We'll advertise, and then we can talk about setting the parameters. Thanks. And that's it for me. Nick, announcements?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to speak a little bit more about the garbage. And just as a suggestion, as a resident myself, sometimes the garbage that is brought down here from residents, they bring garbage down there because, and they haven't paid their bill in not a year. We're talking years. And in our ordinance, we can't stop them from getting their garbage picked up. So I just think that maybe if the supervisors want to dive into that ordinance and maybe change it, and of course, somebody misses a payment, once a year, once or twice, but we're talking years, since 2014, 2015, and we know who they are, and they come down here and they bring in their garbage down here, and they're abusing it, and they're also getting picked up. That's just me as a resident. Everybody does their civic duty, and it's not fair to everybody else in here that pays their bills on time and pays their taxes, pay their fees, and of course there's always a situation where something comes up and they can't make their payments, and we always, and I tell everybody that, and this is for the future too, is while I'm here, if we can help you, we will. But once something gets into credit tech, it's out of our hands. But if there's a situation before that, we could work with you. I could bring it up to the Board of Supervisors. But once it gets to credit tech, it's done. But there's some people, and there's a lot, that do not pay their garbage bill at all for years. So, I mean, I don't know if that's legal, but that's up to the solicitor. But I just want to make that point because we see this all the time. And I just don't think it's fair to everybody in this room. But again, I don't want to delve on garbage. It's a discussion that comes up every day. But also, moving on, we're going to have like Mr. Chair was mentioning, April 27th, we're going to have cleanup dates in the Slate Belt. It's with Slate Belt Rising, Portland, Washington Township, Penorgil, other townships are going to be involved with it. It has to do with Earth Day, and we're going to meet here at 9:30 on the 27th, and it's going to go to approximately 1 o'clock. If you want to sign up, you can go on Slate Belt Rising and just go in there and put your name in there, and then put Upper Mount Bethel, and then Brian will get it to me. So far, we have quite a few people that are signed up for it, which is going to have a good showing, and clean up some of the roads. Right now, I think we have slated right out here, Sandpit, Allegheny, and River, which are long roads, so I don't know if we could add on, but if anybody has suggestions, just let us know, call me, let John know, anybody, what they think, but, I think those 3 roads will keep us busy for the remainder of that day, but if you want to come out and help, more than welcome. It'd be more hands the better. We'll have security. I'm going to be there, and we're going to have Donnie that's volunteering his time, so we'll have safety, traffic control, so keep everybody safe, and it should be a good day. Hopefully it's a nice day, too. The other thing, too, is Mr. Chair wanted me to dive into the earthquake and the bridge. The bridge on Delaware Water Gap, after the Baltimore Bridge came down, there was postings again of the bridge on Delaware Water Gap. The toll bridge where there was a cantilever that's going across, and that's been out for like a year. So I got in touch with the Bridge Authority, and the next day they called me. And I had a nice conversation with the Director of Community Affairs, Jody, and then I had a conversation with Joe Donnelly from there, and they stressed that that has nothing to do with the structure of the bridge. It was put in there in 1950s, and all it was for the steam engines, to protect from the steam engines. Obviously, there's no more steam engines anymore, but they're over 2 railroad tracks, and as we know in this township, and a lot of people know, it's very difficult to work with the railroads, and for them, it's not a priority for them to take it down because it has no bearing at all on the bridge. So when you look at it and people talk about it on social media, if there's any questions or anything like that, I'm glad they reached out. They reached out to Mr. Chair, and then I was able to help that. But they stressed it, and there is actually online. If you go on to Delaware River Joint Authority, there's actually a good description of the whole situation, so you could read that. If anyone wants, I can make copies of it for you. But it's safe. It's been tested every 2 years, and it's passed with flying colors. And they said and I understand it's not a priority. You have other bridges that need help, and they're taking care of that. And in actuality, to segue to the earthquake, I was on the phone with Joe Donnelly when the earthquake hit. So I said, I got to hang up, and he goes, well, I hope the bridge isn't falling. And it was an earthquake, so it was the 4.8 earthquake. But just to let everybody know, if you have concerns about an earthquake or any kind of disaster, I found on cdc.gov/disasters, and I went on there, and there's a lot of information about all different kinds of disasters to help us residents, to let them know, like I didn't know, don't hang during an earthquake, don't hang out next to a wall, a doorway. You would think that it would be safe next to. It's not. That's the worst place to be. The best place to be is outside, but a lot of it's common sense. But if you go on that website, if you're curious, it's a good website to go to, and it's not just earthquakes. It's storms, water, things like that. So.
And thank you, Nick. And a couple other things that in talking to emergency responders as well. If you're in a building or your house during an earthquake, is to take cover immediately and get under a sturdy object covering your head, neck, and face. And if you can, be prepared to move with the object. And to the extent possible, stay away from windows and items that might fall, like Nick was saying. Be prepared for aftershocks. We've had aftershocks, a couple already. We could be getting more, so just be prepared. And if you're outside during an earthquake, make sure to stay away from power lines, buildings, and any objects that might fall. If you're in a car, pull off the road. Stay away from overpasses, bridges, and large structures that might fall. So it's, Friday was an interesting event. It's been my third earthquake. It was my wife's first. And here's a bit of advice. Don't laugh at your wife when she says, "What the heck's going on?" And you say, "It's an earthquake, honey. Don't worry about it." That's bad advice. So don't follow that. Anything else, Nick?
That's it, Mr. Sheriff.
Thank you. Cindy? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Is there an update on the garbage contract negotiations? I asked Nick, I thought he was doing it. He informed me that Adrian might have been.
Adrian, yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Adrian is in discussion with Waste Management's attorney. Waste Management's attorney seemed to be amenable about coming up with certain negotiations. We're going to wait and see what they offer. But so what we're waiting for is for Waste Management's in-house counsel to come back with some kind of proposal in terms of negotiating. So as soon as Adrian gets that, I'll have him attend one of our meetings or call in, and he can explain what they're proposing.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to part 5, the consent agenda. The consent agenda has the March 4th, 2024 special meeting minutes, the March 11th, 2024 meeting minutes, the March 25th, 2024 workshop meeting minutes, and exonerations and refunds. This is all part of the consent agenda. I can take something out of the consent agenda and put it on under action items if anybody wants to vote or discuss any one of these items 1 through 4. Okay?
Mr. Chair, I'm making a motion we accept the consent agenda as is.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Nick, financials?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In the general fund, we had $186,000.44. Backwards. $186,447.14. Interim bills was $6,214.02. Rec fund was $328.25. Interim bills were $3,297.17. The fire tax account, which we'll be discussing the next item, is $207,854, and interim bills there were $574. Road machinery, there was $7,895. EIT open space fund, $18,621.30. And in the escrow accounts, we have RPL Planned Industrial Park West, $54. And the next one is Ultra Poly Recycling Center, and $1,121.75. Philip Jones Minor Subdivision is $2,475. And finally, Lamtech Building Addition, $19,866.75, was a total of $454,748.38. Mr. Chair, I need a motion to pay the bills.
Do we have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
All right, Supervisor Albert made the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Supervisor Erler seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Moving on, Roman numeral number 7, action items, annual fire tax disbursement. Nick?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We had Nancy Finan from Mount Bethel Fire Department, Jeremy from North Bangor, and I want to thank them both for coming in. They did a great job with their finances. I was with Supervisor Freeman. We went over it, and the only one request was for North Bangor to have one account for the money that is funded by the township. He had it in just an open account, which had other things that were in there which we don't need to know about. But Nancy has the money in a separate account just dedicated for that money, so which was good. But in the outcome, so for 1 mil tax for this year. So full transparency, Northampton County comes up with the assessments every year, and it was on December 15, 2023, the tax assessment, which is the final assessment. Our assessments for Mount Bethel is $207,854,000, which equates to 1 mil, which is 207,854. So very simple math for this is we're dividing it in half, and each department will get a check for $103,927. And that is, I guess we need an approval from the board to pay both fire departments, Mr. Chair.
And when do we
if you have any questions.
When do we pay that by?
Well, it's supposed to be paid by ordinance. It's supposed to be paid at the end of the first quarter. So by the time we got in touch with Nancy and Jeremy, and this is the next meeting, so we could pay them. They'll get paid tomorrow or Wednesday.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, in reference to the tax dismissals, I had mentioned this at a meeting. I had discussed it with the two fire companies, and I discussed with Mr. Karasak that we stipulate that the fire tax disbursements be placed in separate checking accounts for each fire company. It makes it so much easier to go over the books and account for everything. And I think, I don't know if Mr. Karasak has to draw something up for that, but I think, I don't even have, if you have to vote on it, that we stipulate that the fire tax have to be deposited in a separate checking account.
Ron, comment?
My comment is that if, in fact, the township wants the fire companies to keep the money in a separate account, I believe it can do that. However, we need to amend the ordinance that established the 1 millage fire tax, which is, again, not a big deal, but an ordinance has to be prepared to amend. To include that, it needs to be advertised and then needs to be voted on at a meeting.
Now then, in order to avoid a conflict like we had before, we'll bring that up in the next meeting. We can put that on the agenda.
Okay. Cindy, please. Any other comments from the supervisors?
Like I said, it's just for convenience, and both fire companies had agreed to it. And it just makes it so much easier, and we can sit down, and they can present the bills, and we can look at them, and we can verify them. In fact, both sessions with the fire companies went rather quick, since everything was in order. And I have to commend them for keeping their accounts in such nice order.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Action item number 2.
Do you have to vote on the money?
What's that?
The disbursements.
Do you need a motion tonight, Nick?
Yeah, otherwise
I'm
we can't
sorry.
pay them. Yeah.
Okay.
You just need it in the minutes.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
And I'll make the motion that we disperse the fire tax disbursements as just gone over by Mr. Graziano.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Chair, before you take a vote, if in fact the money is given to the fire companies before you make the change in the ordinance, they're not going to be required to put it in a separate account. I don't know if there's some need to have the fire companies get the money right away, but you could probably have an ordinance in place within the next month or so. So just keep that in mind.
What are your thoughts, David?
Well, all right, I'll withdraw that motion, but maybe we could contact the fire companies, ask them to voluntarily do it for now, and then we can go back and put the amend the ordinance to do that. But like I said, they were both for that, so I don't see any problem. We can ask the fire companies that they will put their money in separate checking accounts, that there will be an ordinance passed that it'll be stipulated that has to be done.
And they've already agreed to it.
Yeah, they saw no
That-
problem
that-
with it.
That would work, Mr. Chair, if the companies are willing to voluntarily agree, assuming we rely upon that promise, then you can disperse the money now if in fact the township wishes to do that.
Do you want to make your motion again?
I'll make the motion that we disperse the fire tax and that we ask the fire companies to voluntarily put those funds in separate checking accounts. And in our next meeting, we will amend the ordinance that it'll be stipulated that's what has to be done.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second?
I'm the president of the Fire Department, Scott Meitzel. 3 years ago, you guys already put in the ordinance, well, told us we had to put it in a separate account. So why would you have to amend anything if it's already supposed to be put in a separate account?
Yours might be in a separate account, but I don't know if North Bangor's is.
Yeah, North Bangor wasn't, Jeremy, but Jeremy agreed to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we do
So I
for
don't know
one, we
why
gotta do
we're
for the other.
going back, but Nancy already has the money in that account, so it's a moot point as far as I'm concerned. But I don't make any. I don't
Right,
vote on
but you
anything.
guys are holding it off now for another 2 months.
No, we're going to
No,
vote
no,
on
no.
it tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, we'll get it, Scott.
MEIXSELL. Thanks.
Yeah, we got to vote on it. Okay, so there's been a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, Nick, you'll disperse that money tomorrow?
Yeah, Diane will take care of that tomorrow.
Thank you. Next up is Fidelity Bank. Supervisor Albert.
Yeah, I think everybody got to see Solicitor Karasak's resolution there with the investment policy statement. It's just that does carry with us if we decide to move that from Fidelity somewhere else. That's why he was the one reference he had to the financial officer, if there was any questions on that. But Nick and I have been talking. Hopefully we can get this passed and start moving some of those funds around.
Do we have a resolution tonight or no?
I did prepare a resolution for tonight dealing with the, I'll say, general investment policy. If in fact the township wishes to appoint Fidelity as the financial institution, then there needs to be another resolution to appointing Fidelity and also appointing the individuals whom they designate to run the show. But I've just done a general investment policy, so if next year you want to change it to Sovereign, or the year after that you want to change it to someone else, you can. You don't have to keep redoing the resolution. All you need to do is do a resolution appointing the bank and their officers.
So we can make a motion tonight to adopt the resolution on the general investment policy?
I believe so. That's what it's on the agenda for.
Okay.
And if you want to do Fidelity, you can. We just then have to do another resolution to confirm that at the next meeting.
Okay.
I
so-
just don't know the names of the people who would be involved and who would be their representatives, if they want someone on the board of supervisors to be a liaison, et cetera. So,
Yeah, I think, Jason, you could be the liaison. I think that would be fine. So, Cindy, we'll need another resolution appointing the specific members of Fidelity Bank if this passes. Well, with that being said, is there a motion to adopt the general investment policy resolution appointing Fidelity?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Yeah. Please.
As I recall, what you are going to do is have a laddered portfolio of government securities, correct? Correct. And as I recall, the statement was made, there's no way you could lose any money, correct? You were safe. That's not true. You have a laddered portfolio of government securities, whether they be treasuries or whatever they happen to be. The long and short of it is, if you do need the money, yes, you can sell them, they're readily sellable. Depending on where rates go, you actually could sustain a loss. And as I recall, what they were saying was they would ladder that portfolio, depending on your needs of some of these accounts, out as far as 5 years. Now, unless somebody's a close personal friend of Jerome Powell, maybe you could tell me what rates will be next week, let alone in 5 years. And yet you're going to prove this tonight. As always, I'm amazed at what goes on.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on, number 3 under action items is LERTA support letter. This was tabled from our last meeting, and this is in response to Lamont McClure, Northampton County Executive, when he came up here and spoke and introduced his ordinance. All the supervisors have seen a copy of the ordinance, and I want to open it up for discussion and then see if there's a motion to write a support letter for County Executive McClure's LERTA ordinance. Any thoughts from the supervisors?
No, I think his presentation basically, and his letter basically said it all.
And from what I know from the ordinance, it gives discretion to the county in terms of who they extend the LERTA tax break to, with the purpose in mind to give the LERTA tax break to manufacturers rather than warehouses, although warehouses could still get the LERTA tax break upon approval. That's how I understand it.
What you read earlier, LERTA is for distressed properties. Did you not say that earlier, or am I in a different room here? Is that not what was said? LERTA?
That's what it says in the ordinance, sure.
You read it verbatim.
Sure. Ron, you'll have to come to our town hall meetings for the question and answer session.
Well, when I walk the property, if it's to pertain to the I-2 section, that is going to be extremely hard to build on, given the sloped area. So if that's what they mean by the stress, that it's not a clean, flat building, I can under...
In fact, it's not distressed, it's deteriorated. Big difference.
Well, you did send Mr. Erner down there to take the tour to come back to tell you what he thought. He's telling you what he's thinking.
He's telling me it isn't distressed.
I do agree with giving the tax breaks to structures that are going to provide jobs instead of just warehouses. Okay.
Ron, please wait for public comment. Thanks. Any other discussion with the supervisors? I think Cindy could draw it up and then we could review it.
Who's the support letter from? It's from the supervisors.
Yeah. So if we do a support letter, the support letter would come from the supervisors.
Mr. Chair, you should just be aware that since all of the RPL projects were given preliminary plan approval by the prior boards, no changes in township ordinances will affect those properties for the next 5 years.
Correct.
So even if you make this change, I don't think it's going to affect RPL unless for some reason We go beyond 5 years, and they have not yet started a building on a certain plan.
5 years from when? From
the date of your preliminary plan approval, which I think was sometime in the fall of last year.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
I'm not saying you shouldn't make the change. All I'm saying is understand it may not be effective to the RPL projects as it stands.
Yep.
Or as they stand.
okay. Any other thoughts from the supervisors? Okay, does anyone want to make a motion to have a support letter, alerted support letter for County Executive McClure?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 action items is Resolution 2024-08. This is a resolution, and I will read from the following. Whereas the Northampton County Council adopted ordinance number 603-2015 titled An Ordinance Establishing the Livable Landscapes, an Open Space Plan Program for Northampton County, and further providing for the administration of the 21st Century Open Space Initiative on January 7th, 2016. And whereas the program provides for funding grants that may be used by the municipality to acquire land to protect significant natural areas and rehabilitate degraded and underutilized lands that are an important example of Northampton County's natural heritage. And whereas the Upper Mount Bethel Township Board of Supervisors intends to request $50,525 in a Northampton County Livable Landscapes Grant application, and whereas Upper Mount Bethel Township will have the required match of $63,575 for the Nordstrom property. Nick, anything you want to add to this?
This is just another one of the properties that we want to put an easement on, Mr. Chair, and it's just to be approved by the board so we can move forward with it.
Okay. Any discussion, or is there a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-08?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
Any other discussion?
This does come out of the open space fund.
Correct. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on, Roman numeral number 9, new business. We have the feasibility study. Supervisor Erler.
This is to address the municipal water authority that was dissolved. I went along with it because I did not believe that the flow charts and everything that I've seen were followed correctly. I'm not saying that the municipal authority is the wrong thing for us to do. I would just like to see it done correctly. So I'd like to put forth a motion to start that. I talked to Justin previously, and I kind of thought that this would be also reflecting into the 537 plan, but that seems to be the next piece on new business. But I see them tying very closely in together.
Any comment, Justin?
Yes, if I could kind of echo that, I'm going to go back and recommend the recommendation I gave several months ago to do a feasibility study. And it really does dovetail with the 537 plan. And it's interesting, I got the agenda on Friday, and I went back and looked at the recommended flow chart. The strongest recommendation I can make to the board would be to put together a sewer committee. Have a sewer committee put together, identify key sewer issues, look at alternatives, even if it's more of an educational piece. Do you want to revisit the Act 537 plan? Do you want to look at, okay, what would the alternatives be? Because for all intents and purposes, we've heard the last several months about an authority. Well, what if there isn't an authority? Now, what are the options available for specifically RPL, and how does that impact the township? So you could basically say it's a feasibility study / alternatives analysis / revisiting of the Act 537 plan. In addition to that, a key component to the township's 537 plan that I had to pull out, we worked on that back in 2017, 2018, so it's been about 6 years since we looked at the Act 537 plan update. Portland Borough was a key instrumental part of that, so it'd be nice to reach back out to Portland Borough. That's why I recommend the sewer committee have some type of dialogue with Portland Borough again, send ambassadors to Portland, if you will. Just have more dialogue and see where they stand. I believe Area of Concern A, and if you're familiar with the Act 537, Area of Concern A was from Mount Bethel Highway down to the Portland Borough line, was recommended for sewering along 611, and then discharging to the Portland plant. Whether or not that's even feasible anymore, I don't know. I know Portland Borough was conducting a feasibility study on their own. We had received correspondence back in October of 2022 and formally have not heard back from Portland. So I could go on and talk for a very long time about sanitary sewer in the township. The recommendation is I fully support doing some type of feasibility study / alternatives analysis, even if it's just to educate the board, educate the township, and then dovetail that with revisiting the 537 plan and see what direction the township would like to go, and then forming the sewer committee, almost like what you did for the well ordinance, whether or not you have one or two board of supervisors, members of the public. But I really think this is a very key issue of the township. If you do remember, there was a 2003 attempt to do a draft Act 537 plan update. That didn't come to fruition. And then, as history repeats itself, in 2018, our office performed an Act 537 plan update. That was not formally approved. The last that was left off was it was sent to DEP. We received about an 11 or 12-page comment letter, and many of those comments were based upon coordination with Portland Borough and Portland providing public sewer as far as that section of the township. So the long story short is I fully support a feasibility study / alternatives analysis in conjunction with some type of 537 plan update or revisit.
So the feasibility study, that's the first thing that needs to be done?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that lays out our options of how to solve some of the key problems that have been kicked down the road.
And the result of that feasibility study could lead to impending changes, assuming the board goes in this direction, with the Act 537 plan update.
Okay. So before we talk about the 537 plan, and who does the feasibility? Is that you, Justin?
Yes, but partly, I don't want to be just the voice for everyone. I believe this should be the board needs to have a representative or two involved in this process.
Of the feasibility study?
Yes, when we did the Act 537 plan update back in 2017, 2018, there was, I believe there was a sewer committee, and there were one or two board of supervisors on that, and then it was presented, we presented it formally to the board, but there were sewer committee members established at the time. And the township manager was involved, board of supervisors were involved, and we went to actually Portland Borough several times to present the plan to them. So there needs to be some type of level of involvement from the board, in my opinion.
Okay.
Cindy, is there any of those reports from 2018?
Yeah, if you could see if there's any reports, and then Ron, what about if there was some type of sewer committee back years, and now we're trying to form a new one? Do we have to dissolve the old one to form a new one?
I would need to know how the old one was formed, if you will. If it was simply an ad hoc committee that was organized for one specific issue that either no longer applies or may be obsolete or may be changed in some fashion, I don't necessarily think you need to do that. However, if this committee is going to be doing the same as that prior committee, the same items and the same things, it probably would make sense to disband the prior committee and then appoint a new one. Even if it's going to be the same members, you still disband the prior one before you appoint a new one.
Okay, so Cindy, can you look into that, please? And then let's put feasibility study on for the 22nd, and at least we know about the committee, and then we can decide who's going to be representing the supervisors. You think 2 supervisors would be good, Justin? I mean, yeah, Justin. That
I was going to defer to Ron, but yes, in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to have 2?
Yeah, they can do 2. I wouldn't do 3, obviously,
Right, not
but
3, yeah.
2 is fine.
I would recommend 2.
You guys good with that? Okay.
Currently, after speaking with RPL, they are in the move to do their own private authority, so this might not even affect them at all, but still we have concerns that need to be addressed. If we can tie into that and try and get a little bit more regulation on what we want, that's just a bonus.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we table the feasibility study until the 22nd of April, until we find more background information that Cindy will find for us, and then we can decide and determine how we're going to move forward. That's my motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion?
Are you going to have a, well, we have to find out if there's still an old committee that has to be
yeah.
reinstated?
Yeah, so that's what Cindy's going to look into for the 22nd.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just because I'm in charge of the budget, I hear money being spent, so I just will get an idea of what a feasibility study is going to be costing the township, Justin?
Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah.
I think it depends upon the level of involvement and how much is going to be done. I think if we had like a kickoff meeting, you could establish it at that time. To try and put a number on it now, as we're just kind of having this dialogue, I can't give that to you right now.
Okay.
But yes, there should be some type of limit established.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of tabling this into the 22nd of April, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that goes right into the 537 plan, and I put this on the agenda just that we should start talking about this. And Justin, just give me your thoughts now with the feasibility study. That has to be completed first, and that can start kicking in the motion for the 537 plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's the initial step, the feasibility study, and then
Okay.
seeing which direction the township would like to go.
Okay, that's all I wanted it on the agenda for. It's just to mention it, but we've got to do the feasibility study first. Okay, and then number 3, township newsletter. This is just a reminder to the supervisors that we have our township newsletter deadline is April 12th, Friday, April 12th. Cindy holds a tight deadline, so if you don't get it in by April 12th, that's it, move on. So, but if all the supervisors could give, I mean, it only has to be, you can do a couple of paragraphs, you can do a paragraph. It's just a way for us to reach out to the residents to talk about anything you want. Maybe it's an important issue that you want to focus on. Maybe you're working with another supervisor on, maybe you want to throw out an idea and solicit feedback from the residents. You could talk about pictures. Oh, chime in, Cindy, go ahead.
And I welcome pictures. Do you have any pictures, photos that you want to put into the newsletter as well?
I have a picture of me with the eclipse glasses on. Do you want that?
Hey, yeah.
That was a bad joke.
As long as you're not driving with them on.
Yeah, true. So the newsletter, again, it can be about, your article can be about anything that you want as the supervisor or even as a resident. So if we can get those in by Friday to Cindy, that'd be great. And same with our committees as well. Our Economic Development Committee, Open Space. Who else am I missing? The Well Ordinance, Park and Rec Committee. Anyone else? Any other committees? Okay. Okay, that's that. Thanks. And then number 4, Dave, this is for the May meeting.
Yeah, the meeting. We have to take the necessary steps to merge our workshop meeting and our business meeting, since the workshop meeting falls on Memorial Day.
Okay, so we would have one meeting in the month of May, and that would be the 13th, right?
That would be the business meeting, which is the 13th, yeah.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we just say May 13th, and then we can decide at the 13th whether we need to advertise for, say, a meeting on the 28th, or we can let it go at that point.
That'll be fine, but just so you know that our workshop meeting is on Memorial Day.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's all, just so.
All right, do we need a motion for that, Ron?
You should. You should, even though it's not, it's added to the agenda that Act 65 allowed de minimis matters to be added to the agenda that do not spend township money. So this would fall within that purview. In fact, having one less meeting saves township money. So I think you can act on it this evening.
Okay.
And then just make the motion that we eliminate our workshop meeting scheduled for the Memorial Day.
And that, I believe, is May 27th. Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, public comment. 3 minutes for public comment. Ron, did you want to come up? No one's got their hand raised, Ron. Oh, Richard, come on. Come on up.
Richard Wilford Hunt, 2012 Shady Lane. Just want to get some clarification from Ron. You mentioned about preliminary plan approval gives the developer protection for 5 years. And the discussion tonight was about a letter of support to Northampton County for their LERTA ordinance. So it's their LERTA ordinance. Upper Mount Bethel's LERTA ordinance still stands. So they're not protected from the county, or the developer is not protected for 5 years if the county changes. Is that right or wrong?
I do not know how the county code affects this. If this is simply the county code approval and our ordinance is not changing, I would say that your question or your information is probably correct.
But to verify, who would I contact to find that out?
I would probably contact the office of the county executive. I'm sure then they will send you to the county solicitor, and then the solicitor should know that question, or that answer, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mark.
Mark Metzger, 114 Scenic Court. I was going to mention in my public comment about the town hall meeting. I really applaud the decision to do that. I think that is extremely needed right now to get dialogue going between the town management, supervisors, and the rest of the community. And I wish you luck, and if there's anything I can do to help you guys move that along, I would certainly volunteer my services. Over.
Thanks, Mark. Anyone else? Eleanor.
Eleanor Shelton, 943 Hayden Road. I actually had a question maybe for Nick. So there's a lot of trash, which I see you guys are going to address. I have two points to make about that. I've heard a lot of people say it's all the people who didn't grow up here, who didn't live here. But in my opinion, it's kids, because it's all beer cans, and it all happens on Saturday night and Friday night. And I know because I walk my dog every day in the same place, and it fills up. So it'd be nice if people could talk to their kids, and if they're not concerned about them littering, they might be concerned about them drinking and driving. But, you know, that's a whole nother thing. But my other question is, I picked up some trash lately because don't look at it. And I had enough that I filled up my thing. And I had to wait a couple days till trash people came. Is it possible to put that kind of thing? Is that considered household waste? Can I bring that to a dumpster here?
If you're picking it up yourself, if you could just put it in a plastic bag, that's fine. Just come down and look for me or Cindy.
I have to talk to somebody, but it's all right. You're not going to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, during working hours, we're there, and then whenever we start the weekends, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was just because I don't want to just show up and have you go,
No.
try to get out of paying your garbage bill.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Eleanor.
Anyone else? Joe.
Joe Torrey, Institute Road. Good evening. My question has to do with Mr. McClure with the LERTA. You said that each one of you got a paper stating how it works. My question is this. Okay, River Point gets the LERTA. What do we get? Does our taxes, the county taxes, go up on all of us? That's what I want to know. Does anybody know?
No, I mean, I don't think it has anything to. I think it's the tax break given to.
And in the meantime, we don't have to pay. Our county taxes don't go up because of this, does it? Did you read that at all?
I didn't read that.
I don't think our taxes, if I could, I don't think our taxes go up, and that's where I kind of assume where the NID came in, where instead of them paying taxes, they're going to fund the NID for 10 years, and they're staying with the reduced tax rate for 10 years.
Yes, they are like 10% every year.
Correct.
Because I read the NID too.
As far as I understand it, the residents aren't affected, but we don't get that tax money in to the town. Like you were saying, it goes up year after year.
Yes, for RPL.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, come on up, Ron.
Ron Angle, Mount Bethel. I found it interesting, you're going to send an ambassador to Portland. And I thought kind of that's what Mr. Erler's job was with River Point. He was going to be like an ambassador to go down and meet with River Point to see whether he could work out things like getting more manufacturing. But would that be correct?
I went down there to understand the size, scope of the project. We did not vote for a liaison. I would love it if
well, you were good,
if this continued with other board of supervisors, but again, I pushed.
Act 537. What was spent a number of years ago on Act 537 that never got approved? Mr. Quill, do you know that number?
No, it's been too long.
You can come down, Ron.
Oh man!
Ron, you could come down during the week and we can find the numbers for you.
Does anybody here know what you spent on Act 537 before that you never approved? Don't you think you ought to know that?
It's somewhere. I don't have an exact number, but I'm going to say it's around $180,000.
$180,000. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Birmingham. So now you have an opportunity for River Point to get you jump-started on an Act 537.
No, they don't do that. No, the township does the Act 537.
Oh, you couldn't remember the number,
not a
but
private
you can
developer.
remember
You're
this
wrong.
now, can't you?
No.
That's kind of
Hey,
interesting what you
Ron,
remember.
Ron.
No.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
bring-
municipal
bring your-
That's kind of
action,
cute.
not
I
the
like
private
that.
developer responsibility.
Yeah, you would remember it all right.
I
So
know-
I
know
guess
Act
what I'm saying
537
here, so moving along, you're now going to look at what it would cost to start over on Act 537.
No, we're not starting over.
Okay? Whatever you're doing, is there some idea what the cost could potentially be? I would think Mr. Coyle would know that.
Not at this point.
Since we're not voting on it, I think that if he comes back on the 22nd with a number, that would be good enough for me.
So there's no Act 37 in place. There's no indication there ever will be an Act 37 in place. Yet you didn't want a sewer and water authority, which would have addressed some of these concerns about Act 537. I'm really baffled as to what the logic is here on some of these things, because it really doesn't make any sense. And back to the finances, again, evidently nobody was listening to what they told you about laddering those governments, okay? Had you listened to what they said, there is fees, okay? You just don't get them from the Treasury. This is the aftermarket. But I'm amazed that you all just push that through without knowing anything about Act 537. And my last thing is, okay, 5 seconds. Your attorney who's representing you, Mr. Cousins, at the zoning hearing board meetings, you had said he's going to get $160 an hour representing the township during these things. Am I correct?
That's what I said last time.
Oh.
I know. What, you have a question,
Oh, he
Ron?
likes that the 3 minutes is up. What do you, he might give me an answer. What are you worried about?
Ron, hey,
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
Ron,
You
do
know what tomorrow
No.
is? Maybe you should tell the people what's up
Ron.
for you tomorrow.
Ron, do you have a question for me?
Yes, my question is, am I correct? His fee is $160 per hour.
Correct.
Have you asked him, though, what his fee would be if he's got to litigate and go to court? Because I'm sure your solicitor will tell
He's-
you it's a different fee. Because I asked that question on his
He
way
told
out.
me it was 160 throughout.
Even if you go to court,
Yep.
make sure that's in the minutes.
Ron, I know you're trying to find something sneaky or whatever, but okay. Well, he said he spoke to you and he said 160. Yeah, Charlie, come on up. Come on up, Charlie.
Charles Cole, 6 Riverton Road. Let me say a couple comments about the Act 537. There were a number of us when it was proposed back a few years ago that said the Act 537 was inadequate that was sent in. The supervisors that aren't sitting up there right now pushed like everything they could do to get it in. And it was sent in inadequately. The sanitary survey that was done along Route 611 was inadequate. Having done those things, I read it and looked at the details. Many things had changed. It wasn't updated. So don't put the illness on Justin on what happened. It was a previous board that sent in something that was inadequate, and DEP sent it back and said it was a piece of junk.
Yeah,
Thank
there were
you.
22 points of contest.
Beg
There
your
were
pardon?
22 issues with what we sent in.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? Okay, that being said, we're going to go into executive session. We have legal issues to discuss, and then we'll be back out. Thank you.
Is it possible to do the executive session in the beginning?
They've done it before.
We've done it before.
Because the people like sit here and, I mean, it's not important to a lot of people.
It is if we do a motion, if we come out and make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I know what you're saying. Okay, we'll call this meeting back in order. It is 8:47 p.m. So we went back into executive session. We talked about legal issues, specifically Penn Jersey and a lawsuit that they've initiated against us. And we had a discussion on that. Saying that, is there any motions coming out of that meeting? No. Ron, your public comment is over. Ron, go sit down. 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 Sit down. All right. Now, guys, let's talk about the executive session. We went in there, we talked about Penn Jersey. It was a legal issue with the lawsuit. Are there any motions to be made?
Mr. Chair, I make the motion that we authorize the solicitor to contact Mr. Aztec to resolve the pending lawsuit.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.